G'day guys, welcome to another edition of This Week in Footy. John Donohoe, Peter Tseros with you as always. And Pete, the first week of the bye rounds and it was a bit disappointing. 6 games of footy, but a few of them lived up to the hype, that's for sure.
Yeah, a few of them lived up to the hype. I was not expecting the Saints to win, and what a win it was.
We'll talk about that later, won't we?
A little bit disappointing for Melbourne fans. Probably should have pushed back in the last 40 seconds or something, but good for Saints fans.
We'll get onto that a bit later, but we'll start off Friday night last week. The Cats travelled over to Adelaide. They took on Port Adelaide. I had a feeling that Port might win this game, but they were very disappointing and they a real blow to their finals chances.
I tipped Geelong, so I was pretty happy with the win, and I think the Cats are still in the hunt. But unfortunately, Port Adelaide, I think they've just slipped a little bit too far down. I think they might miss it this year.
They are only 10th, so I think they might be able to wiggle their way back into 8th. But I think top 4 is well and truly out of the equation. They won't win the flag this year. I tipped them at the start of the year to win a flag, so I'm a bit disappointed about that. I think they're a good enough side, and Ken Hinkley might give them a bit of a rocket. I think they might sneak into the 8, get 8th, 7th or 8th, and who knows from there. But I don't think they'll win the flag. Geelong, on the other hand, still right up there. Corey Enright plays his 300th this week. So, we spoke at the start of the year, you never write off a champion team, and they're firing, they're coming towards finals as well.
And Enright's also in All-Australian form. I've heard a lot of people talking about him being another player that could potentially win his 6th or 7th All-Australian, which is ridiculous to think about. But, he's still performing at a rate where it's as if he's in his mid-20s.
Absolutely. We move on now, and no one really expected this result. I myself, we stood here last week and I said that Freo would absolutely demolish Gold Coast. It didn't happen that way. Gold Coast were in it all day. I think they were 2 points down at one stage. Freo kicked a goal. They ended up winning Freo by 7 points, just got over the line. I think it was very wet up in the Gold Coast, so a bit of a scrappy affair. I think the score was 40-47 or something like that, so very low scoring. But, Freo did what they had to, but the Gold Coast might be just improving a little bit. They'll get Ablett back after the bye as well.
They're improving, but not enough to, really show that they're going to bump up from that last place in the ladder at the moment. Fremantle, 7-point winners. Not really convincing. You lost to the Tigers, and then you've just gone down by 7 points against Gold Coast. Not really convincing. The buys come at the perfect time for them. They can rest up, have a week off, and really kick-start their second half of the season.
Yeah, they're doing wonderful work, the Dockers. Now, the other Perth team who are moving along very nicely at the moment. A lot of people are saying they could do wonderful things. I'm still not sold on them. I think they've still played the bottom half of the ladder. The West Coast Eagles, they took on Essendon. They beat them by 50 points. Credit to them. I mean, they're doing everything they have to. They're third on the ladder. They go into the bye, with a nice turn. I think they're 7-3 or 8 or something like that, 8-3. So they could absolutely prove me wrong. I want to see them beat Hawthorn. I want to see them beat Freo, and I want to see them beat the likes of Sydney. They haven't done that yet. So when they do, I'll say I'll apologise, but until then, I'm still not sold. I think they'll make the finals, but I think they might slip out of the top 4.
They have really improved this season. I said it at the start of the year that they have the potential to push for a final spot, and they're doing really well, and they're doing just that as well. Essendon really dropped off.
Disappointing.
Disgusting effort against Geelong, and then they go out and lose by 50 points against West Coast. It's looking as if they're not going to make finals this season.
Absolutely.
That's what it's looking as if. The buys come at a perfect time for them. They could restart as well, but they're going to need to do something special in the second half of the year.
It's definitely panic stations for the Bombers. Could James Hird's job be up for grabs? Who knows? We move on now. North taking on Sydney. I thought this one was going to be an absolute belter. I tipped North. I just had a feeling that they might have come out and blitz Sydney, but to Sydney's credit, they're a champion team. They beat the North Melbourne by 16 points. North were thereabouts in it. I think it was probably one of their better performances, but the Sydney press just got on top of them, and the Swans were far too good.
No, the Swans have been far too good for most of their games this season. I think they're going to make potentially a grand final. I think it could be a Fremantle-Sydney grand final. Don't write Hawthorn off. Those 3 have to be the best 3 sides in the comp at the moment. But at the same time, I think Sydney probably should have done it a bit more convincingly. But at the same time, North Melbourne, they really need a win, and they needed it soon, and they didn't step up for the challenge.
Absolutely. What started as a bright season for GWS may just end as a nightmare because they've got a lot of injuries. They lost by 42 points to Collingwood. A lot of us expected them to win. A lot of injuries coming out of that game. Shane Mumford's out for the year, which is a huge blow to their ruck stocks and probably their engine room. He gets first hands on the ball down to their midfielders. That's a big loss. Joel Patfull out of the defence. Phil Davis is gone for a while as well. Stephen Caniglio gone. They're losing some of their best players, and it's really going to take a toll on this young side with more youngsters about to come in.
Unfortunately, I think GWS might slip down the ladder a little bit in the second half of the year. Obviously, they've lost some key players, as you said. Collingwood, fantastic win. Fantastic last quarter. GWS were all the way in it right up until the last quarter. I was at the game, I watched it, and Collingwood absolutely killed in the last quarter. So, fantastic effort. Trav Cloak, I think, kicked 3 goals in the final term. Something along the lines of that. They're looking pretty good.
Collingwood, still another side who moving along very nicely, 8-3. I'm still not sold on them. I know it's a harsh thing to say, but who they've beaten: St Kilda, Carlton, GWS.
GWS has to be the best team.
GWS would probably be the best team they played, apart from the 3 teams they lost to. So
they practically had no bench at half time.
Yeah.
After half time, after 3/4 time. And Collingwood ran over the top of them.
I think the test will come within the next few weeks when they take on Freo, they take on Hawthorn, I think they take on Sydney as well. So the real test for Collingwood will come then. If they can beat them, much like West Coast, I'll look like a fool and I'll cop that on the chin. But until then, I'm not really sold on Collingwood, but they're doing all they can at the moment.
I reckon we could skip the next game.
Now, the next game, the mighty Saints. Here we go. Here you go, mate. You wear that because the Tigers are no good. The Saints took on Melbourne at Etihad Stadium. Melbourne hadn't won at Etihad in 20 goes. They hadn't beaten St Kilda there since 2002, and the day just went from bad to worse for Melbourne. Now, St Kilda started beautifully. Melbourne fought back. Jesse Hogan is a star. Melbourne fought back, and they were up by 7 points with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. And I must admit, sitting there, didn't know their time. I thought it was all over. I was banging the seat in front of me. I thought, why have St Kilda done this? Enter Lee Montagna. And
41 seconds
the
left. The
crowd went wild. I've never been to an atmosphere like it. Best game of footy I've seen. Best game of the year. The Saints are back. We're only 2 games out of the final, so you watch out September.
It's not going to happen.
Well, you never know. We got Essendon after the bye.
Yeah,
we could beat them. We got the Dogs after. We got the Dogs after that.
The Dogs will win. That's that.
But full credit to St Kilda. We got 4 wins total last year. We're already on 4 wins at the halfway mark. If they can get to 6, 7 wins max this year, that would be a really good stepping stone for the Saints.
No, they've definitely improved, but unfortunately, let's be honest, Melbourne probably should have won that game. Let's be honest. No, let's be honest. Melbourne probably should have won the game. You guys were very lucky that the word didn't get out for the Melbourne to push back.
Yeah, but I would disagree with that because St Kilda had all the running throughout the whole game. I think we were probably in command for 90% of that game. Melbourne were only in the lead for that last split second of the game. I think St Kilda deserved to win it. Melbourne, you can see that they're an improving side as well. But I would disagree with that. I think St Kilda deserved the win. They got it. They moved to 14th on the ladder, 15th on the ladder, and I don't know if I want them to win too many more though because I want draft picks. 3, 2, 1.
Moving on to round 12 now. Adelaide take on Hawthorn. I think it's big Thursday night clash. I think it's their 25th anniversary for the last time. When Adelaide made their debut. I'm pretty sure it's their 25th anniversary.
That's a useless stat, Pete.
No, it's their 25th anniversary since Adelaide made their debut against Hawthorn. And I'm pretty sure Adelaide won.
I think, are you talking about Adelaide's first game in the AFL? Yeah. I think Adelaide absolutely smashed Hawthorn from memory.
And it was 25 years ago, so I'm pretty sure this is the anniversary right there.
Well, good luck. Well done to the Adelaide Crows.
Don't think they'll win, though.
Adelaide Oval, the return for Alistair Clarkson. Last time he was there, he was accosted by a fan, so you never know. Security will probably be beefed up a little bit this time around. Adelaide and the Hawks, both coming off a bye, both pretty fresh. I think the Hawks will get it done though. Just a classy unit. I can't see the Hawks losing too many more games in this back end of the season as they go towards their 3rd flag. So the Hawks for me.
Now the Tigers take on the Eagles at MCG. This is a ripper because both sides are in finals contention. So this has to be one of the games of the round. Easy. Probably the game of the round, let's be honest. It's going to be a tough one, and it could literally go either way. Oh, it's tough to say.
Who are you tipping?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it might maybe go with the Eagles, but just... only because I haven't tipped Richmond the last 4 weeks and we won the last 4 games. I'm going to tip the Eagles.
You're a different cat. You can't tip against your own team. It's just unethical.
It's a tough one. The Eagles have been very good this season. And when you've got a forward line like the Eagles, they're going to pump goals. And I hope if Rance can step up and some other players can step up, it could go the other way. But it's going to be a very good game. I'm
going to go with what you should have done. I'm going to tip the Tigers because I think the Tigers are they're switched on. They're ready to go. Delidio's in good form. Dusty Martin is getting back to some of his best form. Rance is the best in the comp. The list goes on and on. They're playing good footy. I think this will be a real test for West Coast. It's a long trip across as well. I'm going to call the Richmond membership department, tell them not to let you back into that club. I think the Tigers are going to win. They're going to win their 5th in a row and they're going to climb the ladder. If Richmond keep winning, they're a top 4 chance. All they have to do is keep winning. I think this will be another one.
Carlton and Port Adelaide take each other on at the MCG as well, but on Saturday. I don't know why I said Saturday. Port Adelaide probably should win this one, let's be honest. But at the same time, the trip moving to Melbourne, Carlton, they did only lose to Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. So, I don't know. I think they're going to push, but I don't think they'll beat the Power.
I think it's a dangerous game saying Port should win this one. I said that one. I said that against Geelong. They lost. I said it a couple of weeks ago against a team they should have beaten as well.
Geelong and Carlton are 2 very different sides.
I agree. And look, they should win this. It's at the MCG. I think Port will win. They'll need to if they're really serious about getting back into finals contention. They'll really need to win this and win it well, and I think they will. But Carlton coming off a bye might be a bit fresher.
Now, GWS take on North Melbourne, and that's going to be a really good clash.
Up there at Spotless.
GWS, they're going to be a bit upset that they lost to Collingwood, but at the same time, North, I think they'll win. GWS. They've lost. Mumford has arguably been one of their best players this entire season. He's been fantastic. People were saying that he might even be winning All-Australian a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And North Melbourne, I can't see them losing this one.
Yeah, well, you mentioned those injuries, and they're crucial. Todd Goldstein could have an easy day. He's going to go up against a 21-year-old in either Tom Downey or Andrew Phillips. It's going to be a tough day for one of those boys. I don't know what they're going to do in the ruck. They're going to have to rove the taps of Goldstein. It's going to be tough. It's going to be two other debutants as well, Caleb Marchbank and Jack Steele, draft picks from last year. So, it's going to be a real young side for GWS. Even though it's at home, I can't see them winning. North, for me, pretty comfortably, get their season back on track a little bit.
I agree. Now, the next game are the Dogs taking on the Lions at Etihad. Tough one to say for Brisbane. Obviously the Lions, they haven't won too many games this year. We know that. But at the same time, I don't think they're too far off from the Dogs. Maybe they might push for it, but I think the Dogs should win and probably about 20 points. But I wouldn't write off the Lions.
Again, 2 teams coming off the bye, so both fresh. I agree with that. Brisbane getting back to a little bit of good footy, but again, a bit like GWS, the injuries have cost them. Their best players are out. The Dogs, they're moving along quite nicely. They knocked off the Giants and the Eagles earlier in the year. The fact that it's at Etihad really helps the Dogs comfortably for me.
Now, the Cats take on Melbourne. Melbourne, they're going to be hurting, but I don't think they're going to beat Geelong. I think Geelong showed a lot last week, and I think they're going to show it again. Yeah, Corey Enright's 300th down there. They don't often lose in Geelong. I can't recall the last time they lose in Geelong. If you recall, it got ugly a few years ago when Melbourne trekked down to Geelong. I think they won by 220 points or something. Yeah, that was ridiculous. Dean Bailey was sacked as a result of it, so... It just a bit like Etihad. It hasn't been a happy hunting ground for the D's, but footy's a funny game at the moment, and they could come out and blitz them. But I think the Cats will win quite comfortably. That's all we got time for on This Week in Footy. Remember to keep clicking back. Facebook, Twitter, everything. Google Plus, you say we have. Yeah, send us an email. thisweekinfooty at what? Official. Thisweekinfooty official @gmail.com. There you go. So if you've got any inquiries. Get onto him. Also, we will be out playing golf in a couple of weeks with a special guest, with Kale, obviously, and a former AFL superstar as well. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a bit of fun, Pete, won't it? Yeah, well, I should beat you at something. It might as well be golf. You never know. Until next week, I'm Donohoe. He's Peter Tseros. Good luck to your team, and go the Saints.